everyone. Welcome to Health Even Here podcast, and you're with me, your host, Grace Mweso. And in this month, we have been talking about love and the in between. I believe we have had like wonderful series of episodes that we've just been talking about love and how to navigate love in a godly way, how to navigate love through the counsel of who God is. And since we are ending on that note in terms of love and the in between, I want us to talk about one thing that I feel like it was a topic that was highlighted from a number of people. And I'm like, okay, why not talk about it? We're going to talk about the waiting season. And not just in line with waiting season for love, but waiting season in life in general. And since Health Even Here, we talk about life and the in between, meaning that even as you're becoming, you can be waiting. And sometimes as you're becoming, it can be frustrating when the waiting season seems to be taking longer than it's supposed to. Sometimes the waiting season can be a little bit frustrating, especially when you are expecting that it's your season to experience whatever it is that you're trusting God for. So for instance, if you're trusting God for financial stability, you're trusting God for a career, trusting God for a job, you're trusting God for a marriage, you're trusting God for just different things in life, it can be frustrating when you think and you look around and you think, oh, it's really time for me, and it's not happening for you. So we're going to talk about how you can navigate that and how you can trust God in the waiting season. First of all, I just want to navigate this fact that the waiting season is not a wasted season. It's not a season that you're wasting time. It's not a season that you're just there, like you're just in the dark. The waiting season is a preparation season, meaning that God is preparing you for something great, for something amazing, for something that, will bring you to the place that you're supposed to be. But since it's a preparation season, you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to unlearn. You have to be willing to, strip off some things, and you have to be willing to take on some things, and you have to be willing to just know the mind of God. To start with, in terms of when you're waiting for a relationship, since that's what we have been talking about in this season, I think when you're waiting and trusting God for a spouse that will lead into marriage, I feel like the first thing you have to know is prepare yourself. Not just prepare yourself, but know yourself and love yourself. Know where you're headed to. Know the things that you can improve on. Find joy in the things that make you you, like make you unique, right? And I've always said this, that if at the end of the day you wait for a relationship or a marriage to be your identity, that means you have never really spent time in knowing your identity as a person. So first of all, cultivate you get to see the you version that you want to be. Get to see the you version that when you look at the mirror, you're proud of. First of all, navigate that. Work on your self-esteem, work on your confidence, work on you trusting God more for your life than trusting into a man. Because the moment you really get maybe what you have prayed for, but you don't have an identity in who God is, it will, distort who you are in God, because you now tend to, love the blessing that God has given you more than the blesser, where God has instructed us to love him first, and from the love that we have loved him first, that love flows to everybody around us, our siblings, our spouses, our friends, and everything in between. So first of all, navigate your relationship with God. Get to know who God is. Get to understand your purpose. Get to understand what God has created you to be, and enjoy the alone time. Enjoy the time that God has called you into. I know the world has a time clock, but we are always on God's timeline. So trust in God's timeline than the clock, right? Sometimes people will say, when you're at this age, you need to find somebody, or maybe even some of us that are watching this, we are at a place where we are like, oh, I'm at the age where I'm supposed to be settled down. But just trust God in the waiting, right? That God, what do you want me to do in this season? And do that, happily, joyfully. It's the posture that you put yourself in, right? And the other part of waiting that is very important is, cultivate the gifts that God has given you in the waiting. I remember there's a story in the Bible of David, how he was crowned king when he was a very young boy. But after that, he didn't just go directly into the palace. He still continued being the shepherd that he was, and, continued navigating that skill. Then after that, when he was in the right time for him, he ended up in the palace, meaning that God has great plans for each one of us, but maybe the timing and the timelines for each one is different, and you cannot compare your own timeline to somebody. Maybe their timeline is for them to be in a harvest season, for you it's in a planting season. That's different altogether. It requires different things to be done. So first of all, know the season you're in, and work in that season with what God has trusted you with. So don't be waiting and wearing, right? Like wearing in terms of like crying and all that. Be waiting and be expectant to see God's promises come to pass. And if you're trusting God for a job, you're trusting God for financial breakthrough, invest in time, in people, invest in books, invest in seminars, go to places that you're going to get knowledge, because knowledge is power. Knowledge will elevate you. Knowledge will put you at a place where anything else cannot put you. I know God and the grace of God lifts men, but you also have to position yourself in a place where you can be lifted. So I think it's also time for us to know the seasons we are in, and not just be at a place like, oh, you know what, I'm frustrated because this is not happening. Work with what you have in the moment to be everything that God has called you to be. So just know that the waiting season is not a wasted season. Know that as you're trusting God for a spouse, or you're trusting God for a job, trusting God for whatever it is that you're trusting God for, know that He's not a God that has looked at the other side and said, oh, this is not my child. He knows where you are at, and he knows what is important for you in that season. And I know social media has put in a lot of things, pressure on how things are supposed to be. You see this, you'll be like, oh, it seems like everybody is getting engaged, everybody is being proposed to, everybody is buying this person a car, everybody is doing, those are like some things we really get to see, which we can really clap for and say, oh, it's a great thing it happened for them. But let it not be a pressure moment that you think you can rush into your blessing, because if you rush into a blessing that you're not prepared for, you're going to destroy that blessing. So prepare for everything that God has for you, and embrace it. And as you're waiting, know that for sure God is working and you can trust Him. So that's all I had for you in today's podcast. I believe you have been blessed. You have taken 2 or 3 things. And remember to subscribe and share this video to somebody that might need it. Until next time, you're with me, Grace Musso. Bye.